Okay, so it's Cat Stanley Space Demon coming at you again with another video, and today I want to talk about rock and roll groupies. And the reason why Ace Frehley, former lead guitarist from the band Kiss, wasn't as into the groupie scene as some of his other bandmates. Okay, so hard rock legends Kiss released their first album, 1974, self-titled debut, and you might know some of the Kiss band members. Gene Simmons, they call him the Demon, and you know, Gene Simmons might be just as famous for anything he did in Kiss musically or performance-wise. He's probably just as famous for his sexual exploits. As far back as 2001, in his memoir, Kiss and Makeup, he had claimed to have been with as many as 4,600 women at that time. Paul Stanley, his Kiss bandmate member, has said that Gene would screw anything and everything. Former Kiss drummer Peter Criss called him a sex maniac. Basically, it's all the guy thought about when he was out on the road with Kiss and in between shows. As far as Paul Stanley goes, guitarist, singer for Kiss, you know, he has referred to his own cocksmanship in the past, the amount of women he has been with on various podcasts and in interviews. He's described the quote-unquote wholesome relationship that Kiss had with their groupies. Former Kiss drummer Peter Criss, even though he was married to his wife Lydia at the time the band got together, and he married playmate Deborah Jensen shortly after his divorce, it didn't stop him from indulging in the carnal pleasures of rock stardom. Among his many sexual exploits that he's talked about include the amount of women he said that he would have in his trailer while Kiss were filming the movie Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. He has said that he would have as many as quote-unquote 6-7 broads at a time. He also, in his memoir, talked about an unsolicited blowjob that he received whilst laid up in the hospital because of a car wreck he had around that same time. Apparently, there was a nurse working in the hospital who was a big Kiss fan, and she wandered into his room, and she just wanted to be able to say that she gave Peter Criss from Kiss a BJ. I guess she wasn't all that great looking, but Peter didn't mind because it was a really great beeger, and she basically disappeared after that. He never saw her again. But now Ace Frehley, on the other hand, original lead guitarist from Kiss, has talked about how he wasn't quite as into the groupie scene, apparently, as some of the other guys in the band. In his 2011 memoir, No Regrets, he said this about groupies. He said, "Groupies were there from the beginning, although it wasn't as big a deal to me as it was to some of the other guys in the band. I never had problems attracting women. I mean, I had already been with at least 50 women by the time I put on the Kiss makeup for the first time. Sex was no great mystery to me by the time I went out on the road with Kiss. Don't get me wrong, I could blank with the best of them, but I didn't chase pussy like I'd never seen it before. I've heard stories about these guys who become rock stars and all of a sudden they're getting laid all the time and they basically lose their minds. You go from getting laid once or twice a year to getting laid 100 times by 100 different women. I sort of got the feeling that Gene fell into this category. I can't say for sure because I don't know a lot about his sexual history prior to Kiss, but I do know that once we got on the road, Gene reacted like a starving man at a smorgasbord. I believe Gene is a sex addict in much the same way that I'm an alcoholic." Now this was from 2011, or before Gene Simmons would end up getting married to his longtime partner, Shannon Tweed, and presumably giving up that lifestyle of the sex addiction and embracing monogamy. But Ace also said that much like the other guys in the band, Ace said this about Gene, basically, he would F almost anything short Tall, plump, svelte, attractive, merely tolerable. But as far as Ace Frehley goes, I guess that Ace, you know, they called him Ace long before he joined KISS, and it had a lot to do with his success with the ladies, his ability not to only score women for himself, but to hook up his friends. His friends would say stuff to him like, man, you're an ace, because Ace was always getting laid, and he was hooking his buddies up, because that's what a bro does. Yeah, so Ace Frehley didn't indulge in the groupie scene as much, but, you know, he said that he could whore around with the best of them, but not quite like Gene Simmons or some of the other guys who he may have intimated weren't getting as much vitamin P prior to joining the band KISS and having the success, and it wasn't as big of a deal to him when he became a rock star. But that's the video. Let me know what you guys think about groupies and, you know, rock stars on the road who indulge in that kind of lifestyle. Maybe some of you rock stars out there, or who guys who fantasize about being rock stars. What would you do in that situation? Would you indulge in that lifestyle in that same way? Or, you know, whatever. But hope you guys dug it, and we'll see you next time.
Who's here?